these ones are like, oh, I have these oh my God, every day there's like 10 to 15 events. Yeah. Yes, I am planning on doing that. Then we need a meetup. And then last year, my healthcare thing on Tuesday. Okay. Wednesday. That's what I have signed up for Wednesday. Thursday I'm doing the gaming and the Push Blackwell startup VC thing. Yeah, at night. I probably want to see if we'll make more. Oh, is that how you're sitting there? But I think it goes. I want to say it's just like I think it's like the actual thing goes till 7, and then they're around if you want to talk to them. Yeah, they like eat or eat or eat. So the game doesn't start till 7. And then Friday we are hosting the HR. I don't know if you saw that, but I volunteer at boardroom to. Right now it's like hours. Oh my God, yeah, right. Yeah. Right, you're like, I will show up somewhere and I'll be there until 9 o'clock at night. Yeah, do you know about that? If you're okay with the lecture and so there. Yep, absolutely. We thought we would. Okay,
that is the entire super secret product roadmap. Okay? Remember, not a word to anyone.
This is some really good intel.
That's not good.
Without the best security, bad things happen. Checkpoint. Welcome to the future of cybersecurity.
If I should call you up, invest a dime, and you say you belong to me, and ease my mind, imagine how the world could be so very fine, so happy together.
Hi, I'm a hacker, and your office may have great cybersecurity, but without strong cybersecurity for your cloud network, it's like taking candy from a baby. Go on, Carla, you know you want to.
Oh, that's not good.
Without the best security, bad things happen, even in the cloud. Checkpoint. Welcome to the future.
I'm Nathan Lasnowski, Concurrency's Chief Technology Officer. Concurrency is an organization of change agents. We make a difference, and we partner with businesses on the change that they need right now. Concurrency engages IT operations to build an efficient, capable cloud for the business. It also partners with the business in disruptive change to bring about new revenue and to bring about operational savings. We partner with businesses like Brunswick Corporation on a connected boat platform and migrating them to the cloud. We also partner with businesses like Clover Imaging that are doing AI-enabled distributed warehouses. We partner with businesses like Duff & Phelps that need to engage their customers with modern app platforms. And also engage customers like Rockwell Automation that are doing secure modern workplaces. Concurrency partners with organizations that need change agents and have change agents. We're here to help bring about change that drives new revenue and operational savings in your business. Let's work with each other today.
If I should call you up, invest a dime, and you say you belong to me, and ease my mind, imagine how the world could be so very fine, so happy together.
And that is the entire super secret product roadmap. Okay? Remember,
Not a word to anyone. This is some really good intel.
that's not good.
Without the best security, bad things happen. Checkpoint. Welcome to the future of cybersecurity.
For the people online, we're just going to wait another 5 to 10 minutes to allow people to get into the room. Thanks.
work of it, and we have a whole different meeting. That's a Mario. Yeah. I was like,
Everyone's on different days.
and I looked at the years.
How many folks you got online? 7?
Never know.
You never know, huh?
That's the real life, but that's not I write it and walk away.
And that is the entire super secret product roadmap. Okay? Remember,
Not a word to anyone. This is some really good intel.
that's not good.
Without the best security, bad things happen. Checkpoint. Welcome to the future of cybersecurity.
It works for online and it should work. So, it'll work. Chuck has all the volumes. I think he mentioned something.
Hey, thanks for coming to the right spot.
Hey, all right. You gonna announce that?
Oh yeah.
All right, great. That's cool. I'm glad I shared.
If anybody doesn't know Eric Joy, who just showed up, he was self-admittedly went to the Brookfield Conference Center, which we're all aware of. But thank you all for coming out. Really appreciate it. Really excited about our topic and our panelists this week. It's a topic that it sounds like a lot of people are talking about, this whole Great Resignation and how do we keep staff, how do we upskill, change skill, reskill, throw your term that you want to at it. And it doesn't just hit us here in technology, it hits organizations across the board. So really excited to have our panelists come up, talk about where they fit in the space, what they're kind of doing, what their role is, and then at the end they'll all sit up here as a panel. Feel free to bounce some questions off of them, anything you have. Don't be nice if you don't want to. They can take it.
We were told there would be softballs.
Yes. Yes. Followed by hardballs. We're going slow pitch to fast pitch real quick. So really excited to kick things off. I'll just hand it over. Each person will come up, introduce themselves, give you a nice little round because it's going to be really everybody's here working, trying to go in the same direction, right? No one's fighting. We're all trying to figure out the answers, and there's a million different answers to the questions we have and a million different right ways and probably some wrong ways. So I'll turn it over. Please welcome Kathy from Milwaukee Tech Hub as our first speaker.
Okay. Let's see, you're going to put it up, right?
You're ready.
I'm ready. All right. So for those of you that don't know me, I'm Cathie Henrich. I run the Milwaukee Tech Hub Coalition, which is a nonprofit dedicated to inclusively doubling tech talent here in the Milwaukee region in order to drive both economic prosperity as well as to create life-changing jobs. That's our mission. So what I was asked to do, first of all, I'm going to set up kind of the state of the tech talent nation for all of us. And that'll help, I think, set that up for the other speakers as well on why we have to think about multiple strategies around talent. So with that said, I'm going to just, one of the things that I think surprises everyone, and I wrote this column for the Wisconsin Tech Council, I think last week, that said, everybody says I can't find talent in Milwaukee, in Wisconsin, etc. The reality is, it doesn't matter where you're located. You can't find tech talent right now. It's a 1.5% unemployment rate, right? And so that's a national unemployment rate, and that's an important thing for all of us to remember. The shortage that we have in tech talent is actually nationally. And it's even more pronounced around in advanced technologies, which now over 30% of the job postings are now for advanced technologies. The second thing to know about that is the question always comes up, why? What happened? How do we get supply and demand so out of whack? Well, a couple of things happened. First of all, the demand has gone like this. And if you look at that, it went like this. COVID happened, and it recovered right on the same path. So we are now on exactly the same path as we were pre-COVID. But coupled with that is actually a couple of other things, is that we have this leaky bucket going on. So we're having people resign because of retirements, well-deserved, but we do have an aging population in tech. And we also have the Great Resignation and people going into different kinds of fields, etc. So as a result of that, and by the way, one of the most affected occupations of the Great Resignation happens to be tech. So we're basically seeing these things kind of come together right now, and that's part of the reason that we're seeing the shortage in tech together. And part of the reason that demand is going like this is because every company has become a tech company. okay? I happened to pull out manufacturing. This is a report from manufacturing. 38% of all jobs posted in manufacturing now are now asking for tech skills. 38%. So we now, and I think the second one was even more interesting. Manufacturing is now the second highest requester of AI skills of any industry. So only after tech. So if you think about this, if we have manufacturing, which we all don't think of as a tech industry, is truly a tech industry, that's why demand is going through the roof. And by the way, we're no different. This is actually, and this, I know none of you can see the details. I'm going to translate. So this is a report that we did last year, and what we were looking for is where do we have too much supply of tech talent, and then where might we be able to upskill them into more in-demand tech kinds of roles. About the middle there, there's a very light line. That is a line of equilibrium that says, supply is equal to demand. Everything above the line says I have more demand than supply. Anything below the line says I have more supply than demand. There's a nice little white space in that lower right-hand corner. That's because, and they could put that little box there, and the reason is we have no place that we have more supply than we have demand. In other words, we have to be thinking creatively as to how we build tech skills in our workforce. And what we're all looking for is relatively the same. We're all predominantly looking for 4-year degrees plus. We're all predominantly looking for 3-year kind of experience or more, experienced tech talent. Because as supply has constrained, it's hard to get the mentoring resources you need for new talent. So with that said, I'm going to focus on attracting. And then others, if hopefully you got this message through here, we also have to have other strategies. We have to retain our talent that we already have. We have to be looking at non-traditional routes into talent. We have to be looking at 2-year degree programs. We have to be looking at upskilling. And so I'm going to take this first one of them, which is attraction, but others are going to be talking today about how do we get additional talent into the pipeline in general. Okay? That's why I'm setting it up, because I just went through the data. All right. I am going to make this interactive. Well, I just gave the answers, never mind. I accidentally went fast. So, first of all, one of the things that's interesting is what do we all think is important in when we're seeking tech talent? What are they looking for? A lot of times we think they're looking for, that they are working for a great company, they're looking for an opportunity. But really one of the things they really care about is that they're working on the most advanced technologies. They're looking for companies that are innovative, that are known to be digital leaders. Translate that, AKA your reputation matters, right? Being able to speak and have a brand around tech actually makes a difference. And probably even more so in what most of us are probably in traditional industries. Probably even more so, right? Because that's not the place that immediately comes to mind. So if a manufacturing is 38% tech roles, we better have a message around what tech looks like in my manufacturing organization. Or how, and I'll use the Northwestern Mutual example, I don't know if anybody's here from that, but a 150-year-old insurance company is now a tech company. So you better have a message and a brand around that. One of the other things so we actually did some primary research as the coalition, and I want to share specifically to Milwaukee what we found. And what we did is we went out and interviewed individuals who had looked at moving here and why they, some that accepted jobs and why they did, and also people that had been offered jobs but didn't move here, didn't choose to, and why not. And what we found is a couple of things, and Eric could probably give this presentation by now because you've probably heard me say it 1,000 times. But we all understand, people understood that Milwaukee was a great place to live. They understood the cost of living, the quality of life, those kinds of things. Now, that may, I think that depends on who you're talking to, but, we can convince them that this is a great place. But there were some misconceptions. There's misconceptions that if I come here to Milwaukee, what if that job doesn't go well? Is there another job for me here in Milwaukee? And I know that sounds kind of crazy, because we look around and there's lots of different opportunities in the Milwaukee region, but people outside don't necessarily see that. And the second thing is they worry that we're using 10-year-old technology. And, if you think about the history of the tech industry, we did have kind of a history of tech starting on the coast and then flowing its way in. Our IBM background, we thought about that, right? That's not true anymore. And so, but there's still that misconception. And we also knew that people care very much about the problems that they're working on, that they matter, that there's problems that matter, probably more so even since the pandemic, and that we're committed to diversity, equity, and inclusion. So with that said, one of the things that the coalition is doing, whoops, I missed one, or I won't go past it, but we actually have a generational opportunity right now to capture. People are more on the move right now than ever before. And this was a study done by Indeed, 50% looking at moving. The reason that they're moving, family, friends, quality of life, cost of living, those kinds of things. We actually score pretty well on those things. But they also know that they want to go to a place that they consider a tech hub. Local still matters. They want to be able to integrate into a community. They want to know that, that they can have professional mentors, all of those kinds of things. So our local image as a tech hub actually really matters. And now I'll go to what we thought of as a coalition. And I want to thank, Eric's on our committee around attraction and retention. We actually have a group of organizations working together now to talk about what do we need to do around attraction and retention collectively, not as individual organizations, but collectively. And so a couple of things we have done. First of all, we're working to show up where people are comparing tech hubs. So for example, on the left here is a powder keg profile. There was a whole bunch of cities on that. I think there were about 15 or 20. Milwaukee was not listed as a tech hub. We've changed that, and our goal is to change that in other places. On the right-hand side, though, is we have to tell our own story as well. And I'm going to show you a QA version of something so that you can start to see what we're working on. We're giving you a little early glimpse. And once we have this asset in place, that will allow us to go do proactive marketing around it, to be able to go out and attract people to the region, but to have a place that tells our story and allows us to capture their information, etc. So with that said, I am going to get out of here and go to a QA site. So all of you guys are in tech. If we have any problems, you guys are going to be really patient. All right. There we go. All right. So this will be a new site called choosemketech.org. It will start to showcase the breadth and depth of opportunities here in the region, as well as all of the assets here in the region to support us for tech. This is the home page. It's meant for people, whether I'm looking for a job, whether I'm looking to move, whether I'm just looking to connect. This will actually serve as an asset both to our existing employees, as much as it serves as an asset for us attracting people into the region. And we'll start to showcase different companies. This is the part that we're in the process of right now. The different companies are starting to put together their profiles, and they are starting to put together jobs that they can highlight in here as well. But we're not just stopping there. We went and started to look at what's Milwaukee all about. And I'll showcase some of that to you as well as obviously it's a beautiful place here. So I'm just going to go to why Milwaukee. And it is loading slowly here, so I'm going to apologize for that. But you'll start to see, like, what are we known for? And these are loading slowly, but we're attractive, we're accessible, we're very approachable. It's easy to get around here, right? Compared to a West Coast, East Coast city, we've got it made here. By the way, this is the internet. I was just on this earlier. It's not the loading, so apologies for that. And then it starts to highlight what's it like to live here, right? What's all the good things about the region, family-friendly living and the assets that we have there, music, etc. But then I think the other thing is, what's the tech scene like? How do I get connected? And I'm just going to go. So there's assets around how do I grow my career here, including all of the higher educational institutions, et cetera. But also, how do I get connected? And looking at the various industries, but also all of the resources here from meetups, from different kinds of events that we have here, et cetera. And I'm guessing the WTA one is listed, but I am going to take a risk because I forgot to look. But Summerfest Tech is here, Lena. And so you'll start to see some of these other events, et cetera, that are all part of this. It also goes into things like, how do I make an impact? How do I reach out into K through 12 or into community groups, et cetera. So you just got a little bit of a highlight of the asset that we're building. Keep it under wraps for right now. I'm giving you guys an early tour, but am I supposed to take questions or just wait till the end? I don't know.
You can do whatever you want.
Thanks. Any questions for me? All right.
When is that going to go, Kathy?
It'll be in November. Right now, we're getting all the companies, all their profiles, the jobs, et cetera, and we don't want to do too big of a launch until we have it kind of fully populated. So that's what's holding it right now.
I was going to maybe bring this up at the end. I don't know if you want to talk about it now, but I believe happy birthday, our second anniversary for the Tech Hub on Monday, and that's the kickoff to Milwaukee Tech Week.
Yes.
I don't know if you have anything you want to share in regards to Tech Week.
Sure. Thank you for bringing up. So next week is actually Milwaukee Tech Week. It's kind of by the community for the community. We're just curating it and helping advertise it and put it out there. There are over 50 events by 45 different partners that are going on next week. It is all different topics. I mean, it doesn't matter if you're an educator. There are things there related to education. There are topics related to deep technical topics. I know Envisia is doing one every single day at noon that's very technical. There's some broader topics like, autonomous vehicles and smarter cities, et cetera. If you're a startup, there's venture capital and startup showcases, but also opportunities to learn about marketing and HR and all kinds of different things. There's a legal clinic. So there are a lot of, depending on who you are, there are really opportunities for everyone. But on Monday, we'll actually celebrate our 2-year anniversary as a coalition. We now have 105 organizations working together around that mission of doubling tech talent, and we'll be celebrating that in a virtual event from 1 to 3. And then in the evening, there will actually be the Meet the Meetups, where we have a number of meetups talking about what, the opportunities there and celebrating some various tech. But go look at the calendar. It's pretty robust. So, thank you. Anybody else?
Could you please talk about Milwaukee Tech Hub's relationship with the emerging startup ecosystem in Milwaukee?
With the emerging? Yeah. So a couple of things. That is one of our strategies is around startups. The place that we've invested and then we collaborate across the entire ecosystem. But where we've invested first is really broadening the funnel. And what we mean by that is, as you know, startups have, a success rate that, and then we recycle a lot of entrepreneurs. But we actually run an early stage incubator. As part of that, we've had 200 founders go through. We've had 69 new businesses, entities come out of that as a result at this point in time. The whole idea is to get the funnel bigger. With very high diversity as well, which is a really interesting thing. The second thing is, the other area that we've invested at this point is reverse pitch, which if you're a problem solver, 4 companies next week are talking about 7 different business challenges that they can't find a solution to in the marketplace. And they're asking for help from the technology community, and they want to help form businesses. So that's another opportunity. But and then honestly, we work across the ecosystem as well. But hopefully that answers it. Okay. Anything else? All right. Thank you. I'm going to turn it over. Is it still on?
Okay. Do you want to bring it up? Thanks, Kathy. Appreciate it. My name is Oliver Degnan, and I'm not sure you guys heard about me, but I've been in town in Milwaukee for the past 26 years, trying to make a career as a tech guru, so to speak. Started as a developer, solutions architect, CTO, CIO, and then one of my last jobs was senior vice president for IBM Watson Health out of the Dallas office. But I was always around the Milwaukee area. That's where we live. This is what we call home, what have you. I was the chief architect for Xywave when Xywave first started, right next door actually in the building. And I worked for Whipfully LLP back in the day, Spider Logic and things like this. So I'm the guy who built a lot of products, like websites that Kathy just showed us. I used to build this stuff, and then at some point I transitioned into the executive career. And little story. When I was the senior vice president for IBM Watson Health, I had about 1,600 employees, $900 million P&L I was responsible for across 5 different states. And the problem I had was actually not so much finding employees, because that wasn't my job. HR did that. They found the employees. But I did have a problem retaining employees, right? And I really tried to figure out what can I do better to retain employees. So then in 2018, beginning of 2018, I quit my good-paying job at IBM, kind of pseudo-retired, started my doctoral work with a dissertation topic on employee retention and engagement and employee happiness and things like this. And I'm hopefully going to be able to defend this December. But I needed data. So I started a company in 2018 called MoreTalent that started out as an AI platform, but that connects employees and people that are looking for jobs to hiring managers and what have you to start gathering data, because that's the data I needed from a dissertation on the road. So I kind of put 1 and 1 together. Hopefully 1 and 1 equals 2 at some point, and I can reap the benefits. With that being said, though, I made employee retention and happiness my business. So we've been in business for since 2018 now, and we actually did survive COVID, which was good. In 2019, we were mentioned as one of the top 20 startup companies in Milwaukee to watch for in 2020, and then COVID hit and whatever. We all know the story then. But we didn't stop. And so over the next 10 minutes, I want to share with you a few of the learnings that I have through my work with MoreTalent and my doctoral dissertation that might help you to retain your employees. Right? Just a little advertisement here. So we train your teams and leaders to tackle whatever comes their way. This is number 1. We have a great workshop called Leading with Strategic Clarity. I think Mario was in one of them once, right? And so these are great things. Even Kevin back there from Advanced Hires. So teaching leaders how to be very, very effective. And by the way, leadership is one of the key indicators on how long your people actually stay. With that being said, I want to point just to a few things that I think that kind of describes the problem that I see in the market today. Right? There's the Great Resignation. I think you had 54% on your slide, which I think it is. Mine is a little bit older. So there are more and more people on the move right now. But it's not necessarily that they're moving because they don't have the right skills or they're moving for a better paycheck or a bigger title. Right? Those are things that matter when you start looking for a job. There's a book called Drive by Daniel Pink. He talks about the essence of you only want to pay people just enough to take the subject of money off the table, right? And for millennials, make sure you call them VP right away. So, anyway, no offense, it's just a joke. But once they're in the door, once they actually start working, they need to build meaningful connections with their peers, with the supervisor. They need to know what success looks like. They need to have strategic clarity, which is a construct that I coined as part of my dissertation, and things like this. Also, recruiters keep on calling all the time, especially now. If you're an employee right now, I still get recruiter calls too. It's just amazing. They contact me on LinkedIn, on Facebook, email, phone. I don't know how to get that information, but it's just coming in constantly. It's a fight for resources right now. Kathy was just talking about this, right? There are more jobs in the United States than there are available resources right now. So don't be surprised when those employees that took you so long and so much effort to get in the door, when they continue to get those calls. So the question is how not to be afraid of those calls, because you can't avoid those calls. You can't turn off the phones. Recruiters will find a way to connect with your employees, right? And turns out there's a construct called employee embeddedness and psychological attachment, that when you work these two constructs, and I'm going to tell you how we do that, you can actually, within about 6 to 10 weeks, you can so deeply embed your new hire in the mission, the vision of the organization, into the relationships with the peers, into the relationship they have with the projects, the first project that they take on, which is a relationship actually, that they actually don't want to leave anymore, because they know what success looks like, and they feel like, whoa, I love this here, this is great. I wish other people would work here. I'm going to tell my friends. That's when your employer brand goes up, right? But very important. So then productivity quality, right? When employees leave, when there's a turnover with teams, it's very disruptive to the teams, right? It takes you forever to onboard somebody, especially in technology. When you start a new project, you got a couple of sprints, and then everybody's on board, and then one person leaves. The whole project just has this huge void that needs to be filled again. A new person fills that void. It's going to take you another 6 weeks for the person to actually come up to speed. And before you know it, you're going to have to make a phone call to your CIO or what have you and tell them, you know what, we're going to be 6 weeks late with the project. Or fewer things we can do for you, right? It's, again, from the trenches. I'm the guy I'm the technology guy. I know what this looks like at the end when you lose a resource. Stability and succession is really important too. There are a lot of cultures, especially in the Milwaukee area. We have quite a few clients in the Milwaukee area. They might advertise a good culture, but they know they actually quite have some work to do yet. Culture is not actually where they really want it ideally to be. And they also don't, so there's instability when resources leave, right? Especially when you don't know that they're about to leave. So the platform that I built can actually calculate with up to 97% accuracy. I can tell you whether your employee is going to leave within the next 6 weeks, 3 months, or within the first 15 months period, which is a magic mark in IT in Milwaukee actually. Right? There's the 15 months. If an employee makes it past 15 months, you most likely have that resource for 3 years, 4 years to come thereafter. But anything below 15 months, you're going to have to fight, right? And we can actually predict that. We can actually tell you quite quickly whether someone wants to leave. And then that's also important with succession planning, right? There's a lot of institutional memory that exists within the employees. That's your number one asset as an organization. If that walks out of the door, you got to start all over again. And don't bother documenting. Right? Nobody reads Word documents these days, right? Institutional memory comes from being there all the time and just being part of that and tackling problems over and over again, providing solutions for the organization, and then over some years, you have built up this institutional memory. That's your asset as an employee, which is also your biggest career maker as an employee, which is another thing that we're focusing on. But succession planning is important, especially for leadership. More and more companies don't worry about succession planning, so they're forced to hire new leaders, especially in the senior, in the executive suite, the C-suite, and the VP kind of levels. They hire outside people. And they always try to sell you the idea, oh, it's going to be so refreshing to have an outside view on this. Until the first changes happen, they're not in alignment with the institutional memory and blah, 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 and it disrupts the culture so much. Before you know it, you should have maybe just promoted Oliver, who was sitting on the desk over there for 10 years, and he knows everything about the organization. If we just invest into executive coaching and a few skills and soft skills, and some of these kind of things, and maybe he should get his executive MBA. We're going to take Oliver and promote him. And then he's going to be a great leader and carrying all the values of the organization to the next generation, right? That's a much better way of doing it, oftentimes. Not all the times, but oftentimes, if you have to pay people. So I think from the problem, can we agree that it's a very common problem space? There might be others out there, but I think these are the biggest drivers financially that really have the biggest ROI impact on the organization and also culture. And culture can be measured in dollars. And I did this when I first started the company. I showed a big employer in Milwaukee, I don't want to mention their name, how much they lose by not having an agile culture. And it was tens of millions of dollars every year. So I thought I'd talk about a topic, managing remote workforce. Now, you guys heard the term pre-pandemic, post-pandemic. These are terms that are going to stick with our lives, with the rest of our lives forever. We are the pandemic nation now. That's who we are, right? Forget millennials and boomers and Gen X. We are the pandemic era now. That's who we are. So post-pandemic, though, hybrid workplaces or 100% remote workforce. I have 16 coaches on MoreTalent right now. I'm a 100% remote company. I have an office only to receive the occasional mail from the IRS. It's really a joke, right? So, and that is the new reality. And if you try to change that and go back to the old days, you're not gonna win that battle. Okay? You might get some Generation Xers or boomers or what have you, say, oh yeah, no, I would like to go back to the office and I need that occasional thing. And again, especially when you're an extrovert, you want to connect with people, you want to be sociable and things like this. You need that, right? But I always send my team to the Wantable Cafe or somewhere else. Hang out there, meet there, have some fun twice a week or whatever it is. There's a $150 coffee budget, right? And it's reimbursable, and they just love it. And just go there and hang out there and do it and have fun and be productive. And then they go back home again in the home office and work. But what's really important to realize is, and I thought I'd show you a few things here, is some of the work challenges remotely, right? On the left side, you have your organizational responsibility. On the right side, the employee responsibilities. In the middle, you have all of these challenges that we're facing, like communication challenges, trust versus control, right? Who has heard that? Like, you've got managers out there, and they say, I need my people here, else I can't control what they're doing. And there's actually a better way. If you let your people go and they work remote, don't just manage the tasks that they have, right? But you don't need to have them in front of you all the time. And there's some techniques that we are coaching that kind of helps with that. But there's a big trust versus control. Tools malfunctions. How often do you have a Teams call or a Zoom call and people don't know they're on mute, or the video doesn't work, so it blacked the video again? Well, let me reboot again, and these kind of things. It's very disruptive. It's actually very disruptive long term. It's actually a cultural disruptor also. Because when you got a few people that are not up to par with the tech that they use, or the background looks really weird, or there's a cat meowing all the time, or a dog barking, once in a while it's funny, but if it happens notoriously all the time, you're disrupting the team. And it speaks a lot for the culture. Because if the culture is not self-policing and the team does not manage for these kind of things and helps each other, hey Oliver, you really got to get the lighting better. You're in front of the window and it's so bright outside and you're all black, I can't see you. It's just not good. Can you fix that? You should say that. By not saying it, it actually prolongs the inevitable, which is actually a team that's kind of not connected very well. And then time management and tracking, right? Task organization, big thing. How do you actually do this, right? So with a hybrid remote workforce, this is something you're going to have to get really good at. And I like to say as a technology guy that I'm not just going to throw technology at it. I'm going to give you an awesome project management platform. We're going to have our Kanban boards and our Gantt charts and what have you, and whatever platform you want to use. Go to Mondays.com or Trello or whatever you want to use. But that's just the tool. When it comes to a remote workforce, you still need to get those people to actually use the tool, embrace it, and message within the tool, these kind of things. So it's not as easy, right? So it's really more of a mindset, right? And on the left side, work culture, leaders have to worry about this, especially strategic clarity. And on the right side, you see, workspace at home, do you have the right workspace? Do you have the right work focus? If you work in the kitchen, you don't have the right focus as a remote employee, right? You might think you do, but you actually don't. You probably walk to the fridge more often than you should, right? And so make sure you have an office space, an area where nobody is in the house, right? And where it's not loud, where you're not in the basement next to the, whatever, water softener that kicks off once in a while. You just want to make sure you have an actual work office. And then also respect your boundaries between work and private time. A big part of what we're doing at MoreTalent is coaching employees. So when an employee starts with a new company, we actually coach them for the first 6 to 10 weeks, 30 minutes every week. And one of the things that we're doing is all of these things that are in blue, they're kind of bolded there. And one of the first things that we're doing is to make sure that they have work focus, that they resituate themselves in a way, technically, physically, mentally, that the family is part of that the friends know that, hey, Oliver is home, I'm going to ring his bell now, I'm just going to say, hey, Oliver, you want to come outside? No, you can't do that. Oliver can't come out to play, I need to work, right? So we kind of recondition, we kind of help reconditioning the employee really, really quickly to be ultra focused on what they need to be doing, right? And really respect your boundaries between work and private time. How often have you seen an employee status on Microsoft Teams that shows green, yellow, or red, or X'd out? How often you see somebody not green or not red? If it's red, it's great, they're probably in the meeting, right? If it's green, that means they're touching the keyboard, the mouse, something is happening. But if it's yellow, they haven't touched the keyboard in a while. And if it's X'd out, that computer is not even on, or Teams is not even connected, which is not good, all right? And as a manager, you need to pay attention to this, right? And so it's really, really easy for remote employees to disconnect themselves. And once they disconnect and they say, I'm just going to run a quick errand, I'm just going to go to the grocery store real quick, it only takes me 15 minutes, before you know it, it's an hour and a half later, and you did not get a hold of your coworker. That's one problem. The second problem is that others start mirroring that. If as a manager, you don't say anything and it's okay, and the policies don't reflect it, right? So a good remote working policy, anybody from HR here, make sure you have a new line that says that we expect your status to be online at least 88% of the time throughout regular business working hours, which can be measured by tools like Teams and others. They can actually give you a trend. And so a big part to employee retention, once we understand some of those main problems, and there's a whole palette of other problems too, but once we understand some of the main problems, what I found out is that I can't throw technology or more training at these people. I can't just make available an HR portal with some videos, some PDFs they can download, or bombard them with events, right? Internal kind of company events. And because events take a lot of time away too, from actually being productive and doing other things, right? And most of the employees already have the skills, else you would have not hired them in the first place. So skills development, it's almost expected that they do it on their own time these days, right? And what I found out is that when you start pairing them up with a human person, a coach, or we call them success mentors, if you pair them up with somebody that understands where they come from, somebody from the trenches for the trenches, right? So for me personally, I coach a lot of solution architects, developers, CIOs, CTOs, what have you. I'm that guy. I can do that, right? And that response produces an incredible retention rate, absolutely incredible. And because once you build that safe harbor relationship as a coach with an employee, that is something that the employee trusts almost indefinitely thereafter, as long as you don't violate that trust. There's actually a trust agreement that we sign before we start coaching. And there's a big difference between HR or a supervisor asking a new employee, so how's it going? You've been here for 6 weeks now. How do you like it? You love your job? Oh yeah, it's great, it's great. I love it, right? You would do the same. You got to protect yourself. You're going to protect your interests. You don't know your manager that well yet. You probably didn't even spend much time with your manager yet after, within the first couple of months. So you say everything is great, but recruiters keep on calling, and you might actually have already another job interview lined up. And that happens too. You get new employees starting. They say yes to the first offer acceptance. If they can't delay the start time to like 4 or 6 weeks, so they have to start in 2 weeks, unfortunately they start the job, and then the other job offer comes through with a bigger title or money or a bigger logo, bigger well-known logo, and then they quit. They're ruthless about quitting. They don't even show up anymore. They just don't come in anymore, right? That's a reality. Don't blame them. Don't be mad at them. It's just what it is these days. It's called ghosting. You ghost the employer, right? You've heard the term?
Yeah, but
It's
like that.
Yeah, and if you're an executive, I can give you a technique on how to actually mirror that back, and they're not going to do it with you anymore. But it's ghosting is really bad. It feels bad. Nobody likes it. But new employees oftentimes ghost their new employer. They don't show up anymore. They start with another employer. The only way you found out is they didn't show up, and their LinkedIn title changed. It's like, darn. So what we're doing at MoreTalent, throughout my doctoral work, I put together a process, which was actually, I took research from 1970, 1990, Hogan, and other research, and I came up with this model to predict that behavior. I can actually predict, with a few discussions only, whether somebody is sincerely embedded with the new job, with the new employer, or not. And the cool thing is, when I have you on a Teams meeting and I look at your face and we have a face-to-face discussion, which is a requirement for these coaching sessions, I can read you. It's really amazing. And there's technology behind the scenes where we can read you, right? And so you can't, at some point, you can't hide it anymore. And we're producing analytics, the way we produce the analytics, by the way, and I'm not going to show you a demo on this, but it's called observational data entry. So instead of a survey where you say, how do you like your job, rate from 0 to 5, the coach has a conversation about your job, and then the coach clicks on buttons it's called observations. Likes job, most likely gets along with supervisor, needs more help with supervisor, and all these kind of things. And in real time, these kind of bells and whistles start lighting up in our system and saying, your new employee, Oliver, has a 73% chance that he's currently thinking of leaving, right? And some of the key metrics that we're capturing in real time, and all of these metrics light up at about session 6. So it takes a little bit of data to collect. But the ones I want to point out is promotability. Promotability is directly correlated with the intention to leave. So very early on, we want to find out, are you promotable already? Right? Are you at a spot? Are you exhibit certain? Are you using certain words, certain behavior? How do you talk about your peers, your supervisor? How you talk about the project? How many other people did you tell that you started the job? Big indicator. It's amazing. So if you start a new job and you haven't told anyone else, guess what you're going to do? You're waiting for the other offer to come in. And you don't want to tell anyone right now that you took the job, right? And so all these kind of things. So that's what we're getting back. But we get this back through our conversations. If we would ask these questions via surveys, and we send out employee surveys, you do not get a truthful response. They know how to protect themselves, right? But a coach with real life experience, when they have a conversation with you about things, we will get these things out from you, right? Intention to leave, peer relationship quality, big indicator. More so is called LMX, or manager relationship quality. It's called leader member exchange quality, if somebody wants to look at some research articles on Google Scholar. But it's the manager relationship quality that determines to a large degree when somebody wants to leave. You guys heard the saying that people don't leave companies, they leave managers. It's true. It's really true. In my career, I kept a really low-paying job for quite some time because I really loved my manager. And I learned so much from the manager, and even though recruiters called me and they would have given me $20,000 more, I said, no, I'm just not available. I'm emotionally not available because I really love it here. But I loved it because my manager was just absolutely amazing, right? Absolutely fantastic manager. Ken Degnan is his name. He's the CIO for Houston, Milwaukee right now. And brand perception, really important too. If you want to attract new people, especially with what Kathy was talking about, attracting people to Milwaukee, it's about brands and logos, these kind of things. Your brand needs to be recognized. Early retention is a term that I coined. The construct was actually created by me. I can predict within the first 6 weeks your likelihood to leave, and this kind of feeds many of the other things. Role clarity. You know what's funny? When you hire somebody new, let's say as a software developer or as a project manager, and you ask them the first week, tell me about your role. Are you clear what it is you need to be doing? Oh yeah, I'm clear. I'm a project manager and that's what I do. So they feel really good, right? Until things don't work out so well if they don't have the right guidance, and then all of a sudden they realize, I actually don't know what I'm doing here. So the curve goes like, it's like a bell curve, it goes like a hockey stick, it goes down and goes up again. And what we're doing is we're actually mentoring them to fit into their role much, much faster, which then in turns actually increases workplace embeddedness, right? Really important. Another big thing that we're doing, and nobody else has been doing this for so many years, and I just don't understand why. One of the first things that I do as a coach is I look at the website, I look at the news articles, like MK, Tech Hub, what are you guys writing about a company? And I actually tell that to that new hire, to that employee. I say, did you know that your organization is thinking of purchasing another organization, or they're hiring a lot of people right now, or they're building a new product, or they were just featured at some kind of event, whatever. Isn't that cool? Like, what do you think about this? You should really plug into the organization, plug into the community, and understand what the community is talking about, your organization that you're working for, right? So next week when we meet, tell me something new that I don't know. It's an actual technique that I use. And then before you know it, they research their own employer, aside from just the resume and the job description, and they come back to me next week and tell me stuff, yeah, we did this and this and that, and we got an award over here, which is really cool. It's actually a cool company I'm working for, right? So I'm bringing up the workplace embeddedness. I'm bringing that up really quickly. And when I brought it up after 6 coaching sessions, I've almost probably achieved around 96% early retention. Right? Anyway, so I thought this was something I wanted to show. This is what we're doing. I love the whole thing about employee engagement, retention, and happiness, and things like this. I love measuring it. It's I just geek out about this all the time. I'm a data guy, and Erin and I used to work together back at Miller Coors back in the days as solution architects, and she knows I'm a big data guy. I love data. So that's what I started doing. Any questions regarding retention? Was this helpful?
Yeah.
Okay, a lot of nodding. Good, thank you. Any questions?
So I have a couple. Can you go back to your slide there, please? So my question would be for you is, there's different types of employees now, right? There's those of us that have been in the field forever. There are new hires, right? To me, this crosses a lot. It's different. And one of the areas that I'm a big advocate of is, where are the people that look like me that fit into this? And when I go to these type of events, I don't see that. And I see a lot of discussion, and hear a lot of discussion from Milwaukee companies, but the IT, IS, cyber people that come to Milwaukee, that are people of color, they leave in 2 years. That brand perception does nothing for them. So it's I think it's a different discussion based upon the employee's background, where they've come through.
Always.
Right? And I don't think enough of us as leaders within an organization recognize that. Because a Milwaukee as an environment, right, includes Waukesha, West Bend, Kewaskum,
right.
Thiensville, right, Cedarburg. But for a person like me, it doesn't include that.
Right.
And my manager, my leadership has to recognize and realize that, because if I'm working remotely, working from home, I can't dedicate a room. I don't have a dedicated room, right? I have to dedicate an area, and I may have childcare issues versus in a pandemic, things like that. So I think we as leaders need to take some of that into account.
Yeah.
As we ask the questions, the hard questions, and we look at saying a person needs to be online 88%. But some organizations will say that 88% can be from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m.
Yeah.
Right? It's not the old water cooler. I'm here at 7:30. I'm getting my
That's
coffee.
right. Exactly.
And I'm gonna leave at 4:30.
Exactly.
Right? And I think we as leadership, we have to think, we have to evolve, and not enough of us have done that.
Yeah.
So that's another reason why people will leave, because of your manager. Because I said the same thing to my boss. I said, I don't work for you because of the money you pay me. I work for you because I like you.
That's right.
Right? And it makes for a whole different relationship.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that. That was great.
Yeah, thank you for the feedback. I really appreciate it. And you bring up good points. again, this is what we're doing. We work with leadership to make sure they understand these kind of things. Yeah, and working remote does not necessarily mean you have to work at a specific time. However, in technology, especially when you have other teams that are in different time zones, we got a number of time zones in the United States here, you want to try to get as much overlap as you can. Because there's a team dynamic where when the team is online, the team finds itself, they find each other, and because of that, that's the dynamic you need in order to discuss problem spaces and things like this and drive forward solutions. And so you want to try to find that, right? But working remote doesn't necessarily mean working from home, right? I've got people that work for me and work from Starbucks, like all the time. They're just addicted to Starbucks. I got no problem with it, right? I got another person who works from Panera Bread. He's addicted to the egg white sandwiches from Panera Bread, okay? I get it. Go do it. Work from Panera Bread all day long. You got a $150 budget. You can do that. You can work from that, right? So yeah, you bring up a really good point. And then there is the whole thing about where do you live, access you have in the community to resources. You might live in an area where you don't have a good internet connectivity, right? But you're still available to employee.
And there are people in organizations that their belief is everyone has this stable connection.
No, they don't.
And believe it or not, in parts of Milwaukee last year, people, it was saturated. So I had to send a hotspot to a person and say, here, here's your hotspot, use your hotspot, or go to Panera, go to Starbucks.
That's right.
Go there for a time and do it. But the misconception in leadership is everybody has this high-speed connection at home. Everyone's home computer is up to date. It's got malware, it's got virus protection on it, so we can just send them a link and they're ready to go. It's like,
Nope, doesn't work that way. I can tell you that Dr. Bill Mitchell, who is our Chief Operating Officer and my business partner, he lives down in El Paso. And we had a really important client for over a year, and he needed to have great video quality. So we got him the best connectivity extra in the place where he lived, and that cost quite some money to put that in there. But it wasn't installed. It didn't even lead up to his road. We have to draw the cable to his road and then get it in. But it was worth it. And again, but I would have never known it unless he would have said something like, "Hey, Oliver, you know what? I'm working from home, but I'm not going outside because of COVID right now. But my internet connectivity really sucks for this particular client." So okay, we need to fix the problem. Right? Good. Appreciate feedback.
Just make a comment. Years ago, I'm Kevin Schultz. I'm the owner of Advanced Hires. And since we engaged MoreTalent years ago, they actually brought our retention rate up to 96%, 15 plus months, meaning that every candidate placed stands a 96% chance of remaining in the role beyond 15 months, which is a lot higher than what we were doing before we engaged MoreTalent. It's the highest that exists in the industry. So I just wanted to say thank you.
Appreciate it. That was not planned, and thank you so much.
What's that?
That was not planned. No, awesome.
No, I just wanted to, because I know he was talking here today, and I just wanted to just mention that. So
yeah, and let me throw it back to you. Need to find difficult IT placements. That's the guy you go to. Just that fine. All right. With that, thank you. I appreciate it.
Good afternoon, everyone. Some tough acts to follow. So much for softballs. Huh?
You're on your own, Jim.
Thanks. My name is Jim Draeger. I'm the director of the Corporate Training Center at WCTC. I'm really honored to be here today and humbled to be in front of this group, especially the presenters. You as industry leaders are clearly facing extraordinary challenges from recruiting, retaining, upskilling is clearly defined by Oliver and Kathy here. And I have a confession to make. I'm not an IT expert. I am barely an expert in training and upskilling and recruiting, but what I can do for you, what I am good at, is connecting you to the resources to help you overcome your challenges, okay? That's my role. That's what I can do as the director of the Corporate Training Center, as I can anticipate, identify, and meet your needs through training and through the connections with the technical college system. And so by engaging with your technical college system, your local one, wherever you are in the state, by engaging with your technical college, you're going to be able to overcome those challenges that you have today. Okay? And so it disappeared, but did it come back? Oh, there it is. So I'm just going to talk a little bit today about how WCTC and the technical college system as a whole is training the future workforce. We're upskilling the current workforce, and we're partnering with you. We hear you. We understand the challenges going on, and we can provide the resources for you to succeed. So the Wisconsin Technical College system is composed of 16 technical colleges, and they're geographically laid out and designed across the state. If you're in Madison, you have Madison College. Waukesha County is where I come from, where I work. You also have Madison Area Technical College. If you're down in Racine and Kenosha, you have Gateway. If you're in Fond du Lac, you have Moraine Park. Oshkosh is Fox Valley, just to name a few in southeastern Wisconsin. But each of the technical colleges are a part of this system to provide you the resources to meet your needs. And I'm going to talk a little bit specifically about WCTC because that's the one I'm most familiar with. And some of the resources that I'm going to lay out are unique to us, but they're going to be similar in your geographic area within the state, okay? So WCTC has 4 primary schools. We have the School of Protective and Human Services, the School of Health. The School of Applied Technologies has a couple programs that are specific to your industry, graphic design, web design, and then we also have the School of Business that has a few programs specific to your industry. Accounting, HR, leadership, continuous improvement, supply chain, lean, cybersecurity, web software, database development, programming. We have these schools that teach the current, or teach the future workforce the hard skills they need to overcome the challenges and meet your needs. And we provide the hard skills and the credentials. These programs offer associate degrees, technical diplomas, and certificates, all right? And these are ones that they can use to step into those voids in your organizations. We also are expanding our role with the high schools. We have the Dual Enrollment Academy and high school transcripted credit. So we're working with our local high schools to get juniors and seniors enrolled in to the technical college. So when they graduate high school, they're also going to graduate with an associate degree. They're going to be ready, they're going to be 2 years ahead of where they would be if they just finished high school. We also offer adult basic education training. So finding that aging workforce or that diverse workforce that didn't get a GED, that speaks English as a second language, we're going to bring them in, give them the foundational skills to step into those hard skills in those certificate programs. We're about to enter into a partnership with UW-Milwaukee, where we're going to offer Associate of Arts degrees and Associate of Science degrees. So when those students finish that 2-year program at WCTC, they're going to be able to transfer into UWM, take 2 years and get that 4-year degree. A little bit of state statute to play with, a little bit more elbow rubbing, but we're going to get there. And we're going to offer this. We're partnering specifically with UW-Waukesha because there aren't any classes offered after 6 p.m. to get those degrees in Waukesha County. So how can we partner with the UW systems to do this? We're getting closer. We also instituted in the fall of 2020 an 8-week calendar. Our own internal data showed that it took over 5 years to complete a 2-year degree. So what did our leadership do? They took that data, they were data-driven, and they instituted an 8-week calendar. We took a 16-week semester, and now we offer 2 8-week terms in fall. We did the same for spring, and then we have an 8-week term in summer. to get those students those degrees to get into your businesses within 2 years instead of 5 years. Now these programs and this calendar didn't just come out of a vacuum, right? WCTC developed that with input from folks and industry leaders like you, right? They relied on you as part of advisory committees, and that's how you can help overcome these current challenges, is getting involved with the advisory committees on these specific programs at your local technical college. So it's not so much how do I write the job description, how do I coach them and train them. You got to think outside of the box. How can I get engaged with the local resource to be a part of that education process? And then an advisory committee is one of those first steps. So that's what we're doing at the technical college, at WCTC, and the system across the state to train the future workforce. But what about upskilling the current workforce? Each of the 16 technical colleges has a business and industry services department. At WCTC, it's called the Corporate Training Center. And we have our mission is twofold at the Corporate Training Center. We want to provide affordable and accessible professional development opportunities, and we want to connect you to the resources of the college and the technical college system. That's our mission, and we primarily do that through 3 services: through customized contracted training, through open enrollment professional development workshops, and through coaching, consulting, and assessment. We can come into your organization, see where you're at, and offer you ways on which you can move forward. This all comes at a cost, though, right? And so we're aware of that. But the Wisconsin Technical College system offers something called Workforce Advancement Training Grants. $4 million a year are offered to the 16 technical colleges, and they're competitive grants. You're not guaranteed a portion, you're not guaranteed a piece of the pie. But if you work with the Corporate Training Center staff, and we can develop a training plan, and we can identify those needs, come up with that plan, we can offset upwards of 50% of that upskilling and training for your current staff. But we got to start now, so we'll talk more about that in a little bit. So that's the next step for you, right? Is how can you address these challenges thinking outside the box and using your local technical college center as your resource. And the Corporate Training Center is one partner in which you can rely on to overcome those challenges. And Dan Mowbray and Scott Richter, if you could stand up or raise your hand, they're account managers from the Corporate Training Center. They're here today, and they want to talk to you, right? They want to get to know you, introduce themselves, identify those problems, meet your needs. But beyond preparing the future workforce and upskilling the current workforce, the technical college systems and the technical colleges and WCTC are really building partnerships with industry leaders like yourselves. Each of the schools has a career connections department. This will help post jobs for you. This will help you write job descriptions geared towards our graduates, right? So that's a resource that you might not have heard of before. Internships are another great possibility. Identify the program through the Career Connections Department, set up an internship, and establish that pipeline to get that talent into your organization. I had already mentioned the advisory committees are a great way for you to get involved in creating the programs that you need to get that talent into your organization. This isn't a pitch, I promise, but scholarships are nice too. Like, it's a great opportunity for you to work with a foundation to provide scholarships to get more folks into the program. It's just another avenue, another way for you to work into using the technical college system as your resource. And you're not alone in doing this, right? So are you in a business park, or are you part of the Tech Coalition, Or are you part of Chamber of Commerce where you can set up more of a consortium style or a coalition type training where you all come to us and we work it out, we customize it, and we offer it for you. So you can engage at these multiple levels outside of the standard posting a job description and waiting. You can start helping with those programs. You can start working with corporate training to identify customized training solutions or get in touch with our career connections. I've already wrote a note to myself for Kathy. I'm like, I'm going to get you all of our jobs and post them on your website. I'm like, ready to go. So we understand the position you're in. You're not alone. Every industry is facing this. And your technical college system is your resource to prepare the future workforce, to upskill what you currently have, and to partner with industry. And I look forward to connecting with you today. Dan and Scott look forward to connecting with you today, in the days and months ahead, because that's the only way we're going to get through this and this challenge is to connect with each other and make this happen. It was short and sweet, but we know the networking really happens up at the bar afterwards, right? Yeah. Is that how that works? And we got to stay till Oliver leaves. Nobody can leave till Oliver leaves, right? So I'll take any questions now or at the end, but I just wanted to let you know I'm grateful and honored to be here and look forward to working with you in the near future. Questions?
Well, short and sweet it is. I will kind of wrap this up because I don't want to stand between you and the networking in the bar. But I am Maureen Carley, and I am here with the University of Wisconsin. I work with the extended campus, which is kind of an additional campus or additional entity to the physical campuses. And I work with what we do at Extended Campus for you people who have been involved in academics or technology. I can tell you we do collaborative programs, which allows students to take a single degree from across the university campuses. And if you have ever been a student or an administrator of an academic program, you can just imagine the joys that would ensue of trying to pursue a single program, either as a student or as an administrator, across basically, from my understanding, is the University of Wisconsin system. The system authority is like this, really more of a policy wonk than it is this overarching Big Brother control type structure, control freak type of structure. So that is just to say that the campuses have a fair amount of autonomy in what they do. So imagine trying to complete a single degree program or offer a single degree program with 5 different schools or 6 or 7 basically independent schools. It would not be fun. So all the things that would make that really, really challenging are what we do at Extended Campus. So that tells you a little bit something about our environment, how much fun that could be. But higher education in general can address all of the things that have been come up before: retention, succession planning, reskilling, upskilling. When you talk about the technology, particularly the technology talent shortage, transferring in, because as Kathy said, every company now is a technology company. Every person who touches a computer anymore is a technology professional. So at that level, certainly the community colleges play a role, coaching and mentoring plays a role, higher education plays a role. So there really is a lot of that. Technology professionals, anybody really, can advance their career through just experience and staying with the company or moving around and getting a better job. And technology professionals, that is probably more true than others because there is such a shortage, and it is somewhat of a specialized skill, becoming probably a little bit less specialized anymore just because everybody is a technology professional. And you can do that with your career, and I've seen that. You know, there's lots of very, very high-level technology people that don't have advanced degrees. You can do that up to a point, but in this competitive type of market, that point, you kind of need to take a stand and say, okay, if I've hit this ceiling, what do I need to do to get myself to that next level, whether it's coaching, whether it's, taking some specific courses at a technology college or getting an advanced degree. So that is kind of the pitch for higher education. What I wanted to do is tell you a little bit about the specific programs that I work on and that are available through Extended Campus. We have technology-based programs. We have all kinds of programs. We have a database, or data science, we have a brand new Master of Science in Security and Master of Science in Technology Management. All of our programs at Extended Campus are industry informed. So before we go out and build a degree and say, here you go, kind of what you were talking about, here it is, come and get it, we go out and say, okay, what does it need to look like in order for it to be valuable to you? So the industry informed, and then once the programs are up and running, we have industry advisory boards that help keep us honest and keep it focused. Erin is on our IT management advisory board. We've got a fabulous advisory board for that program. For our cybersecurity program is getting up and running. And just to pitch to Kathy about showcasing the Milwaukee area, I saw the Milwaukee Bucks thing up there, which is fun and it's exciting, and you'll have all this wonderful entertainment. Robert Cordova is the CTO at the Milwaukee Bucks. He is also on our ITM advisory board. There's some amazing, amazing technology stuff that they are doing with the Bucks. It's so much more. I mean, to people from the outside, it's like, go to a basketball game and it's so much fun. But they are doing some amazing technology-related stuff there. Erin is manufacturing and retail, and they're doing some really, really incredible stuff. So from that brand perspective, telling that story is really important too. But to this point of the academic programs and how you all can get involved and how we can solve these various problems, you can offer to keep your employees, succession planning. Don't let them go someplace else and be the CIO of a next corporation when you retire, which you want to. Nobody wants to work forever. Well, very few people want to work forever. You may get a great role. You're a CIO, and you may get a great opportunity somewhere to go someplace else. Well, who's going to step in to that shoes? Who better than somebody who knows the industry, who knows your organization, who knows the culture? So you can support that person in getting an advanced degree so that they have the management skills and the technical skills and the corporate knowledge to move into that position with very little disruption. So I am a firm believer, personally myself, in the power of partnership, and this industry-academic partnership is something that is just completely fascinating to me and has been for a very, very long time. I think that for any academic degree program, any academic program at any level, academic excellence should be a given. You should just expect that you're going to be learning from very accomplished individuals and people who are very good at teaching and transferring that knowledge. Since you all are a technology audience and you know that computers always behave exactly according to textbook, they never go rogue at all. So since we know that that doesn't really happen, it's important to have that foundational knowledge. So, this is the best practices, this is how you should do it, this is the way it should go, and, when everything works perfectly in an ideal world, that's great. Then you have industry people, boots on the ground, who have been there, done that, and say, okay, that's true, that's exactly true. That is textbook, that is the way that you should do it, that's best practice. Now, here's what you do when it doesn't go exactly according to textbook, right? So to me, having that balance, that partnership, is really a value add for our students. So that is something that is kind of my personal appeal to you, is if you are in a position where you are looking for perhaps taking that next step in your career and you are interested in a fabulous graduate degree, we have plenty to offer you. The technology management program is kind of a unique one. It really is not as deep as a master's in computer science. It's not as broad as an MBA. It really focuses on that little spot that is unique to the management challenges and the leadership challenges that are specific to technology. So that is really what that program is about. If you're interested in learning more about that, you can visit our website, and we've got an information session coming up in just a couple of weeks. But if that is something that is of interest to you, either personally or as a CIO who is looking to bring the next generation up, that's a fabulous program. If you are interested from a personal perspective and say, I want to be that person who fills that gap. I want to be that person who mentors the student. I want to be that person who comes into the classroom and says, this is what happens when it doesn't go according to textbook. Talk to me. I would love to have that. This is just something that's a personal goal for me, that as we grow that program, I want to grow that piece of the program because I think it's that incredibly important. I actually was at a presentation last night for AITP, and the person was talking about upskilling and retraining and all that sort of thing. And she said that the most important thing you can do for yourself, that you all can do for these people that are coming up, is offer them the professional network, the mentoring, the opportunity to hear how you traveled your path. So that is just something that I would offer you as an opportunity for either yourself educationally or yourself professionally to give back. So that's all I've got. Excuse me, that's all I've got. And if you all have any questions, I'm happy to take them. Otherwise, I guess, I don't know, whatever comes next. Yes.
Just a comment. Thanks for the presentation. Kathy was talking about manufacturing, and then artificial intelligence is really important. This is where things are really going. In my view, and I spent a lot of time at the IBM Yorktown Research Center with people that developed IBM Watson, AI and stuff like this. Most of them have multiple masters in data science and things like this, or even PhDs. And they also have doctorates of technology now and things like this. Those are the degrees you really want when you are in AI. And there's, like for me personally, because I've been in AI for the past 8 years now, there's a big difference between the wannabe AI, which is really not, it's just a chatbot, and then the true AI that runs sophisticated models behind the scenes and gets smarter with every cognitive interaction. And so that's where you want those degrees. You want to align those degrees up and help these people to move into the AI space. This is how they retain their jobs.
Very good point. Thank you. So we don't get that deep in this particular program. We do cover emerging technologies. So kind of everything that we do from a technical perspective in this particular program is also from a management perspective. So we have an emerging technologies class, and it's really about not what is the next shiny new toy, like, AI, but how do you use AI in your business? How do you bring it in? How does it interact with all the other systems? And it's not plug and play, and you've got to be able to know that. And so those are the kind of things that we talk about in this program, is kind of, not just it's neat and it's cool and it can do this, but what do you also have to think about before you pull that plug, before you pull that trigger?
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Erica Conway, and I get to be the facilitator of the next portion of what we're doing. I'll do a quick introduction and give you my 2 cents, and then we'll have the panel take kind of the stage, if you will, and you guys can field questions, but hopefully the interaction that you just saw between Oliver and Maureen, we can have a little bit more of that conversation amongst the panel and then amongst all of you. So I own a staffing firm here in Milwaukee called C2. I've owned it for 18 years, and the work that Kathy is doing, I was part of the Tech Hub initiative. I was going to their quarterly meetings and saw the kind of growth of tech marketplaces and what the Tech Hub was doing in Milwaukee, and I thought, I can't look at staffing the same way anymore. The future is these marketplaces. But I really felt like they needed to be ethical and put freelancers first, so I launched a startup around January 2020, right at the perfect time to launch a new business, as many, like Oliver is as well. So we launched January 2020, we incorporated in April, and we are chugging along, doing great. We have a great remote team. Oliver, I took copious notes, thank you very much for things. I have 2 remote teams, the team at C2 and the team at Caliber, and they're a blended team. Dan is here from our team, so everybody, Dan, everybody. And so my perspective is really on the talent that we're talking about and some of the things that those folks are thinking about, and specifically freelancers, because freelancers are coming out of 2-year programs, 4-year programs, deciding they might be job changers because they were let go during the pandemic and they don't want their fate to be held by an organization. They want to make their own decisions about what work they take and where they take it. There's also numerous bridge and pipeline programs that are developing talent outside of the higher ed ecosystem. And then there are those retirees that Kathy mentioned, and those folks are looking to pick up project work, consulting work. And so those are the people that Talmer targets and says, how can we make a soft landing for you in freelance? Make sure that you have access to benefits and business tools. Make sure that you have the things you need to run a successful freelance business and serve all of the people who are looking for talent like that. So that is my kind of 2 cents to this organization and why I'm grateful that Eric and Troy invited me to participate. So panel, come on up. And so I'm fascinated actually by Kathy talking about where Milwaukee is at in terms of no longer being kind of 10 years behind, and then Oliver's conversation about AI, and then Maureen saying, well, we don't exactly have that, but we have these other things. What are some of the things we should be celebrating about where Milwaukee is at in terms of either education or some of the kind of leading edge programs that we have in Milwaukee from an attraction standpoint?
That's a good question. So a couple of things. First of all, on the AI front, we do actually have some really good programs around the region and the state. I think we also need to think of this as a state, not only here locally in Milwaukee. So the Northwestern Mutual Data Science Institute, which is a collaboration of Marquette, UWM, and Northwestern Mutual, is a great asset. MSOE has a supercomputer specifically dedicated to AI that I think we all know of. Madison has a top-notch computer science and AI program. We have the right kinds of programs across here. We have ranked programs around supply chain at Marquette. We have ranked programs in a number of different areas. I mean, our Connected Systems Institute at UWM. So there's lots of assets, I would say, that we've been able to say collectively, we actually have really great programs. What's different about Milwaukee is we have to tell that story is that it's across all of these institutions, not just one institution, because we don't rank right relative to, a Stanford or, name the AI program, but collectively we have the assets in the region, and we just need to be talking about them holistically as a region versus one versus another.
I can maybe add to them. So there's a book out by one of the MoreTalent advisors, Dr. Mark Munoz. He was the AI advisor to Harvard University. And just a little bit of self-advertisement, he featured me between pages 67 and so I'm actually, there's a whole story about Oliver Degnan and his time with AI. And it's called The AI Leader. And I wish, Milwaukee, from my point of view, what I'm seeing, there's a lack in terms of the algorithmic leadership that's missing. We have a lot of the information age leadership here, industrial leadership and things like this. But there's a book by Jack Welch, which is a fantastic book I recommend you get. It's called The Algorithmic Leader, or by Dr. Mark Munoz, the AI Leader. There's a leadership lack in Milwaukee that I'm seeing, from my perspective that is, right? As I'm like the AI kind of executive AI geek, that is really needed to help companies, to help them propel forward in the AI age, the AI era. The AI era actually already started. It started quite some time ago. And some companies that are not here have been taking full advantage of that. You see a Tesla out there. It's AI. It does work. I know because I'm driving it every day. And it does work really well. So is your iPhone. iPhone 11, 12, 13 up, and things like this. But why are we not doing it? Right? We have a perfect opportunity, especially we've got so many manufacturing companies here in the state of Wisconsin that, and there's a reason why they're flocking towards AI, automation, robots, things like this, right? And but they need leadership to do that. And I think they're burning a lot of budget right now unnecessary to give a lot of the work offshore or outside of Wisconsin, Milwaukee, and then they happily take the money Same with some of the, funds for startups we have, whether it's Generator A or Green City, what have you. A lot of the people that actually burn the money come from Chicago and other areas and Austin. And guess what they're doing? They're not moving here. They're taking the money happily, they produce a product and they put it on the resume and then they go back to wherever they came from. And I think there's a problem. And I think it takes leadership to bring employees here, to retain employees. But we need to have the right AI leadership, the AI thinking to make that happen. I just want to add that on there. By the way, do I need this at all?
All right. Do you guys have something to chime in on that? Because I want to ask actually the audience a couple questions too. Because I'm curious about who's here. So I know we have educators in the room. So are the people from education here? Raise your hands. Couple. You're clustered. You guys are like, this is the education area. How about people who are working in tech day to day, like hands-on? How about managers and suppliers? Okay, who didn't raise their hand? Who did I miss?
It's me. I work with a lot of researchers at a major medical college.
Okay, fantastic. Anybody else? Any other category of audience that we have here? Because I want to make sure that we're thinking about who's in the room while we're making some of these answers to the questions in the room. So now the pressure is on. What other questions do we have before we wrap up?
So I got a hard question.
Okay.
I always ask the hard.
Please do.
My job is to blow things up.
Please do.
So you talked a lot about Marquette, MSOE, UWM. Fantastic institutions. They got some great systems, great computers over there doing great things, reaching great people. My concern is in the next century, the available workforce is going to be, again, people of color and women.
Mm-hmm.
They can't go to a Marquette and pay $40,000 a year. They have to rely on a technical college. They have to rely on the inroads of an outside program, right, to go through. And then maybe then with scholarships and things they can do there. Unfortunately, due to the last 2 years, things that happened, we've gotten buried into diversity, equity, and inclusion, things of those natures. However, nobody talks about the analytics behind it and what are we doing to actually cultivate this workforce. Everybody says, we need 10 people. I need seven architects. I need 2 database analysts. Where are they coming from? How are we generating beyond us doing, again, this is my thing.
I'm excited about this. I'm excited about this action.
We do so much lip service. NM does great things. They had speakers on Black Data Processing Association to help to recruit, right? A couple other places, Harley. But beyond that, what is again, this Milwaukee area, what are we doing? Are we partnering with WCTC? So now it doesn't take 5 years and then I'm saddled with this student loan debt that I can't get out of because I have to take an entry-level position, right? You know, where are we going with this? And let's get some hard, like you stated about a student could come out of high school and have a 2-year degree, or at least have some credits towards that, right? And they could come out of an MPS school, out of King, out of Reagan, out of those schools. They could come out of WCTC, come out of there and go into a program, and advisors have been working. But I really am disappointed that a lot of our leadership doesn't have and doesn't share the same passion. They all state, we have this great goal of, we need 100,000 people. We need 200,000 people. Then we talk about our tax bases are going down. What are we doing?
So, can I? I'm going to jump in quick. So, much of my career has been in the creative industry, where there is a dearth of people of color in leadership roles in the creative industry. Actually, just a dearth of people of color in general. And the tech industry faces the same challenge. And so, part of what I've spent the last 2 years doing is looking at bridge and pipeline programs. And nationally, there are a bevy of bridge and pipeline programs that are specifically targeting women, people of color, underrepresented professionals to cultivate tech professionals and help them, give them access to jobs. And one of the foundations of Talmer is to, like, if people come out of those programs, they want to freelance, we want to give them, again, a soft place to land. Locally, IC Stars, which is a national program, is doing some pretty, I would say, impactful work they're doing it small cohort by small cohort, but it does scale. And then that is a model for other programs. And so I'm gonna hand it off to Kathy because she has the bigger picture.
And I think, you know, we all spoke on different things, and the question I was answering was specific to AI. But let me tell you some of the other things because I think it's important. First of all, the reskilling component is really important, and part of that's through the technical colleges, wonderful programs there. There's also programs like apprenticeship models. So one of the things that we're working on scaling at the coalition is an apprenticeship model. So Coles was our very first cohort. There are 10 apprentices there. We're in right now a multi-employer cohort as well, which has 4 additional that the press just came out last week that will also scale. That is a program that can scale. And we actually have federal or state dollars right now to provide incentives to employers to offset the cost and risk associated with that. So we actually have a grant for $385,000 that actually offsets the cost associated with that, so it makes it a more viable program for the employers to be able to do that. So that's one model that we see as a huge potential to scale because employees, from an employee perspective, I get paid while I'm learning. And then the second is I get paid while I learn on the job. And I have a portable credential at the end that is recognized both at the state of Wisconsin and across the industry. So that's one model. You also have to inspire individuals to go into technical fields. And as we talked about adjacent areas, so I'll give you another example. This summer we ran a program on the ethics and impact of data and AI. That was not done with technologists, but rather all majors. So we had everything from individuals, we had technical college individuals, we had individuals that were participating from high school, that were collegiate, ready for collegiate kinds of academics. And we had freshmen and sophomores in college that we had literally everything from fashion design to marketing to all healthcare, et cetera. Because data and analytics are now spanning all jobs. We actually, by being very purposeful and intentional of outreach, our demographics were 87% either women or individuals of color. And so the whole goal is to over-index so that we can start to refine the demographics over time, because as you said, this does not resolve itself, initially, in immediacy. So it takes time to get there. So those are the kinds of programs that we're building that will scale, but then the idea there is we can take that and also educate the educators, because we can only do so many in a summer program, but I also need to inspire the educators, and then I need to create pipelines to work. And that pipeline approach is really a holistic strategy to do that. So we completely understand and agree.
Yeah, it's challenging. I go into high schools and speak, and I work with the Chamber of Commerce's in town to say we have to get, so from a grassroots level, we have to get our kids engaged, not when they're a senior in high school.
Correct. It's got to happen.
They have to be engaged earlier, and the parents have to be engaged in the child earlier, right? So you have to understand that there's some sacrifices that you have to make if you want your child to go to college. You may not be able to pay for all of it, but you should be able to help for some of it, right? And there are things you can do, college tours. Most colleges, if you call them and say, hey, I'd like to bring my kid out here for a tour, my child, they're accepting it. They'll pair them up with someone, right? So those are the type of things that we need to get more of the community engaged with, right?
Yeah, I just want to mention one opportunity for all of you. Hour of Tech is coming up in December. So before the first week in November, we're trying to get all the individuals and organizations signed up. This is an opportunity to go into the schools and provide an hour into the school districts and into the students to inspire them.
Yeah, every
That's,
grade level.
last year we had about 10,000 hours donated into the schools just during 1 week. And so we encourage all of your organizations to sign up and get a group that is willing to go in, and it's at all age levels, really, to just inspire about tech careers.
Yeah, and go ahead.
There's something called Elmbrook Launch, like the Launch Initiative.
Yeah, great
There was
program.
Bob, who was it, Bob?
Paul.
Dr. Paul, yeah. And I actually think sometimes waiting until it's time for college is almost too late. That's why I like when you said you start with high school. You should actually start like junior years already, right? And what I like about the Launch initiative is that they actually connect the students with employers.
They're great.
Which is really important to get them in, and it's almost like a pseudo type of apprenticeship. They get to know the company, maybe they get to spend some time with the employer, they get their hands on these complicated machineries that use AI and things like this. And but from my point of view, and just looking what I observed over the many years in just the tech market, if you want to be making a real difference in technology and turn it into your career, you have to start way early, much earlier than college.
Oh, yeah.
Most people that make it big in technology or make a good living or make a big difference, they're already awesome by the time they start their junior year in college, right? They could make six figures already, that they don't get the degree still, right? And then once they get the degree and they actually go in the marketplace, well, they start a senior Java developer role at $150,000 annually, so their student debt is paid back quite quickly, right? And they're not the outliers, these people. They're all over the place, from all sorts of races and colors, right? They're all over the place. And but it has to start earlier. So any initiatives that we can provide, in our communities and what have you, to introduce early high school children of any color, creed, race, doesn't matter. Introduce them to local companies that get their hands on the latest.
Kathy and I are over here like, should we talk about STEAM and Dream? Yes, we should.
They need to get themselves on the latest and greatest tech also, which is also really important.
Yeah, so, and I just think there's so many wonderful things going on in the community, from Sharp to STEAM and Dream to Young Enterprising Society to, and I'm going to miss some, because we have a number of different partners. We actually collaborate across the region with them. And I think we just have to continue to we bring them together actually to collaborate and provide the resources into the school districts, et cetera. So all those programs are wonderful, and the points of light, we just, frankly, we need to continue to scale them.
This marketplace would be great because you can direct people.
Right,
exactly right.
And that's what we need, that's what they're needed.
All right. What's your name, sir?
I'm Ron Williamson.
Ron. So Ron threw out a good hardball. Who else has one for the panel? The bar is set. Yes, sir.
Well, on that same vein, WCTC, by the way, another thing that we're doing is actually our IT program is part of a federal grant right now, trying to establish a National Cybersecurity Teaching Association.
Ooh.
Basically, a system for getting graduate credits to high school teachers so that they're able to teach cybersecurity in class.
That's fascinating.
This is a 9-college across the country grant. We're working with DePaul and Purdue in our region. And the goal of this grant from the NSA is to essentially get this first batch of 90 teachers 12 graduate credits, which will get them on their way to do transcripted credits, college credits into those high school students. So it's kind of a cool thing.
Yeah.
And that's part of the NSA's Center of Academic Excellence program, the CAE program, of which we have 4 colleges in Wisconsin, WCTC, Madison College, UW Stout, and Marquette's graduate program.
Thank you.
Can I just throw something in there? So one of the other programs that we have, as I said, is pretty new. We're finishing up our second year, fairly new master's degree in cybersecurity. I'm super excited that after 4 months, I think, of back and forth with them and the system procurement office, we are officially a sponsor of the first U.S. Cyber Games, which is such a cool thing. So check them out. think it's just cybergames.net or .org or something, but if you look up cyber games, US cyber games, so what they are doing, that is basically a nationwide talent search for cybersecurity professionals and for developing cybersecurity professionals. And they are pitching it as a game, just like an athletic event or an athletic team. They are putting together a team that will represent the United States at the International Cyber Games in Greece in December. Wow. It is very, very cool. It started back in June, I think, where it was just this open forum, capture the flag kind of a thing. Anybody can play. You can play for points, you can play for prizes. From that, they whittled it down to like 50 or 60 people that they were looking at in specific areas, because they said this isn't about technology, and that's an important thing about cybersecurity, is it's not just about tech. There's a lot of tech involved, but it's not just tech. And so they were looking at building a team, and in order to have a team, you need to have people that have skills in this and skills in that and skills in this. So they're looking at these various people that they had whittled down from the open forum and said, okay, we're going to look at you, how well do you perform here, how well do you perform here, and from that they pulled like 20 to 25 people that had to meet a specific criteria that was set by the International Games Commission, and they are going to be the first U.S. cyber team, and they will compete in Greece in December. And there's all kinds of ways that you can interact with them. Again, go to Cyber Games, whatever it is, US Cyber Games Network, whatever it is. Hopefully, it won't take another 4 months to get our logo on that page.
That's great.
You're doing as many things very, very well. Moving at the speed of light when it comes to procurement is not so much at the top of the list.
That almost sounds like a great recruiting spot for the NSA.
Yeah.
Well, actually, the person that I worked with on this, she said, gaming in education is a great way to learn. And also she said, I gotta be really honest with you, this is a nationwide talent search. We're looking for talent. We're looking for creative ways to recruit, to retain, to all the things that we've been talking about, thinking outside the box. This is a great way to see what talent is out there.
Nice.
That's fantastic. Yes, sir.
So, Mario Cortez. As an employer, I'm a big believer in experience-based learning. In fact, especially in IT, I think that there are parts in tech training that happen on the job, right? You can have certain skills that need to be transferable. Specifically at Manpower Group headquarters, our corporate technology, there's certain things that you're going to need to learn from somebody that's been in that job for a while. Kathy, the question's really for you. Is there anything from a tech hub perspective that we're not doing in Milwaukee? Anything that you see as like something that, hey, you know what, Milwaukee, you're really missing the ball here?
Yes, and meaning that we're 2 years into a journey, right, of changing. So we have looked at programs across the country that have opportunities. As a region, one of the gaps and opportunities, it's both a gap and an opportunity, but we actually have the 6th highest concentration of college students per capita in the region. And we're not necessarily known for it because it's in a lot of smaller institutions as opposed to one big institution. But we actually know that we have about twice as many graduates right now in STEM fields as what we have entry-level openings. And so one of the opportunity areas for scaling is to take on more entry-level talent. Now that requires a couple of things, right? It requires mentorship. It requires training in the universe or in the organizations themselves. But it takes mentorship and a culture of mentorship, et cetera. So that's an opportunity area for us to retain more of that talent. But it comes from our strength, right? Our strength is we have a really high concentration of this talent, and so we need to be able to absorb more. So that's one really big opportunity area. The second big opportunity area, and it's very similar, is because it's an entry level, more of an entry level tech talent, is the reskilling and to take on more and to scale reskilling. That is a huge opportunity area for us. My belief, given 1.5% unemployment rate, the tech hubs of the future that are going to succeed are those that leverage the talent that's already here And that includes our early talent and our reskilling talent, and that means scaling that. So, and I think, that also, because, if you look at our traditional industries, et cetera, if we're realistic, yes, we're gonna attract some talent, but it is critical that we also take on the early talent in order for us to be successful.
And if I could, on that note, Mario, I think the partnership with your local tech college is imperative, right? So you nailed it on the head when you said the training has to take place in the workplace, right? They gotta learn hands-on. I mean, WCTC's tagline is hands-on higher ed. That's what we do. And so partnering with the program to have that internship where they're learning the hard skills in the classroom and applying that in the workplace is a great opportunity with any of the programs within the School of Business or Business Information Technology. But then Kathy nailed it with reskilling. Who has the budget or the time to take your current employee, to take your leaders and have them train the new age, the new up and coming, the employees that need the reskilling? That's where partnership with Corporate Training Center comes into play. We can be your trainers. We can step in, or we can rely on the subject matter experts of WCTC. We have access to all those instructors, and we can bring them in and customize the training to meet your needs right on site in the workplace. You're not going to send them off to class. We're going to come to you and we're going to teach them right in the lab, right in the workplace, right on the floor, whatever it takes. And so those are two great opportunities there to bring that hands-on in the workplace through your local technical college. Great.
Yeah, and can I just add on to you? I mean, at this discussion around diversity of the tech talent employee base is really, really important. It leads to innovation, right? Study after study shows that a diverse workforce leads to the best innovation. We know that right now, what our demographics look like is very similar to the demographics in our four-year institutions. It is the reality. And so non-traditional routes to talent are actually a source of both capacity as well as diversity. And I think that's an important message as well, is that is how we are going to diversify our workforce, is through looking at other sources of talent as well.
So the two through lines that I've really taken from this conversation is that all of the efforts on retention, attraction, retention, reskilling, upskilling have to be intentional and collaborative. And that nothing happens without those two things. So we are about 5 minutes from the end of this session. If you guys want to just take a minute to last thoughts before we send folks on their way.
Last thought? So I'm a big data guy, as I mentioned before. How do we measure that we're successful with all these initiatives? And is there something I wonder if there's one dashboard, one report we can go to, other than the labor force type of, from Madison type of reports. But really, all of these initiatives, including the universities, the colleges, the technical colleges, all the institutions, the academic institutions, the private, for-profit, non-profit, community type of funds and everything, what do they really result to? And what I'm thinking about is, and I'm just brainstorming this, right? And so numbers of degrees handed out that led to promotions internally, a number of degrees that led to job switching and these kind of things. Cost of degrees that led to an income increase over here over what time. And I mean, I just think it would be cool to have a comprehensive dashboard. Maybe you can put it on your new website for the city, for Milwaukee, and say, okay, here are all the initiatives, and they leading to this particular outcome, right? And I think be a lot more outcome focused versus just kind of go to your perspective a little bit versus just there's a lot of talk. You can get a degree and it makes you more marketable or whatever, or you get a better conversation. But is this really helping you, right? And so maybe it's something to think about. I'm just throwing it out there.
Let me go next then, because we do actually have a dashboard on the mketech.org website. If you go down, there is an that you can go there, and it's a data dashboard. the source of truth that we have used at this point is CompTIA. It measures, it comes out annually and measures both 50 job codes and 50 industry codes. And that is our way of measuring the holistic progress over time. With that said, that is an arrears measurement, right? And so that is one of the challenges, is getting data sets that allow us to have any kind of real-time data. So I'm open to all ideas on real-time data sources that would allow us to, consolidate that data and be able to provide it. Because most of the labor statistics are in arrears right now. So my last thought in addition to kind of glomming on is, it's an and statement. It's all data sources. We need all data sources. We need to recruit, we need to retain, we need to hire early talent, and we need to retrain. And in doing that, we are better together than we are as any one individual organization. So essentially, recruiting has changed. Recruiting has changed from it being, I first choose a company and then I go move to that company. Recruiting has changed such that we're now selling a geography, and then they're choosing where to work within that geography, if even that, right? Because it may be remote work, et cetera. So my last thought is we are literally better together in selling collectively and going after the talent collectively and building talent collectively than we are as any one organization.
And that's where institutions like WCTC come into play. Any technical college within your region come into play. We're going to take that collective approach. We're not in a vacuum. We're not doing this alone. You can help build and influence new programs. Jason, we have an advanced AI certificate coming up soon, don't we?
Yeah, we have AI and cloud computing technical certificates in the works. They're, I think, at the state level right now.
Yep. You do have to deal with some red tape from the state working with us from time to time, but your input as an industry leader is going to help us create that solid program so they can springboard into that needed degree that really sort of that you need to be successful in that industry. So besides preparing for the future, we can write grants where we couple ESL training with industry training. You want to diversify, let's do it, right? Let's get the money and get the underrepresented populations identified in the grant, get the dollars to offset the cost. And you take a little risk by hiring them, we take a little risk by getting the funds from the state, but in the end, we're producing and showing that we can diversify this industry, right? We can get that grant money through for the Corporate Training Center, and then you can just partner with our industry career connections areas, from job boards to scholarships to internships, apprenticeships. We're going to do it with you collectively. We're going to help you succeed, and I look forward to it. Sounded like a sales pitch, like I'm running for governor. Vote for Jim. Thank you.
Maureen, bring us home.
So all of these initiatives are wonderful, and of course you've got to start somewhere, but somebody needs to pull it all together. And that's kind of, I think, where graduate education comes in. You've got community colleges, you've got internships, you've got all these people and all these wonderful initiatives, and then what do you do? How do you make this happen? How do you do this? How do you manage all of these different needs that you have? So the role of the technology leader, and for those of you who are technology leaders, I apologize because I'm preaching to the choir, but that role has become so much more about strategy than about the what, and it's really more about the who and the how. And when you talk about shortages and you can upskill and you can reskill and you can retrain, everybody is touching technology anymore. You've got business leaders who are very, very smart and who are using technology, and they may not see themselves as a technology leader, but they can transition in. And you talk about, the technology shortage. ironically, the COVID pandemic made that tactical element of technology so much more strategic. And it put technology in a very strategic position in a way that it hasn't been previously. And it's caught the eye of the CEO, and there's an opportunity now, and I think now is the time. It's kind of post-pandemic, it's all settled, and it's still fresh enough in the CEO's mind, and it's still the CIOs and the technology leaders have shown we can be strategic, we can step up, we can lead. So give us that opportunity, and now is the time. Take advantage of everything that's out there, all these initiatives that are bubbling up. Now's the time to act.
Thank you. So Eric, I assume that you have the floor. So thank you to Troy and thank you to Eric for the time and space today to share all of these initiatives. And you have the floor, sir.
Hey, you did a great job.
Hey.
For those of you that don't know me, my name's Eric Prince. I'm the president of the WTA. On behalf of the board, I just want to say thanks to all of you for coming out. And more importantly, thank you for all the support since the beginning of the pandemic. I mean, we actually had our first live event, like I was telling you earlier, in August of 2020. And I think it really kept us relevant. And our mission is really to do all of this. This is awesome. Actually, upstairs is when it's awesome.
Yeah.
So to correct you, I'm the one keeping everybody from going upstairs.
Thank you. Better now.
I just wanted to say thank you for coming out. We are going to be upstairs in Jimmy's. But, okay, I wasn't going to, but Oliver, you talked about distractions and stuff for people when they're working at home. So I've had quite a few of them. All right. But I have to tell you this one. It happened last week. I live in Milwaukee. Yeah, my next door neighbor is that wall, right, on both sides of the house, right? We're very close together. And I'm sitting at the dining room table on my laptop, and the doorbell rings. I'm like, okay, we get a lot of people coming through all the time, right?
You're very friendly.
Right, you were very friendly in Milwaukee. So I go to the door, and I open the door, and I have a little stoop. And my next door neighbor is standing on her stoop, and this kid, Jacob, he's like 7 or 8 years old. He's standing on my lawn, and then there's this other girl he plays with, she's like 7 or 8, and I look, and I'm like, are you playing Ring and Run? Yeah, Ding Dong Ditch, some people call it, right? So I look at Paul, and I'm like, he didn't run. So it was really funny. So then I was going to school him on how to do it because, well, we did that a lot in Boston, but that's it. I just want to have a little. Listen, this is our last session, regular session of the year of 2021. We have a small business meeting in November, then we're off in December, and I think we're maybe going to be doing something, hopefully, with Gartner in January. We really want to hit the ground running in January. So we're already working on all of the sessions. So that's enough for me. Thank you all very much, and I'll see you upstairs. Thank you. And thanks to them.
Those are big chairs. Getting out of it.